When it comes to others, like GameStop just announced their purchase as well, and GameStop is kind of a meme stock as well. The last couple of years, it's definitely grown more in like a retail fashion.
Hello, everyone. Grandpa Dypto here with CJ Miller, Dypto-Crypto CEO and co-founder of Dypto-Crypto.com, your hub for all things you want to learn about crypto. And today, we're going to discuss two big stories in the crypto market. President Trump's crypto venture, World Liberty Financial, that recently announced it'll be offering a digital stablecoin. And we're also going to discuss news about companies such as Michael Saylor's Strategy, formerly MicroStrategy, and GameStop, and big equity funds, all buying a huge amount of Bitcoin. So let's dive in. And CJ, can we begin with the story in our Dypto Times newsletter this week about companies like Michael Saylor's Strategy using their cash reserves to buy a ton of Bitcoin? I mean, Michael Saylor's, without question, at the vanguard of public companies amassing huge amounts of Bitcoin. Could you give us a quick overview of Saylor's philosophy and why he and others like him believe so deeply in Bitcoin?
Yeah, certainly. I think part of it too that we have to realize is Saylor has built his company, his personality, like his entire brand around being this ultimate like Bitcoin bull, right? So I don't know how much we can apply from what he's doing to other companies, just because, I mean, he's kind of locked in, right? Like at this point, you can't really do anything different. But so he just has to keep buying Bitcoin because that's who he is, and that's where he's going. And it's great to see someone as dedicated and as strong of a believer as him, literally putting his company's life kind of on the line and basing it on Bitcoin. So it's pretty incredible to see. When it comes to others, like GameStop just announced their purchase as well, and it's kind of interesting because for GameStop is kind of a meme stock as well. The last couple of years, it's definitely grown more in like a retail fashion, with Roaring Kitty kind of getting into it, and the massive bull run that they saw and whatnot. So I think this move kind of goes along with that. Not saying that Bitcoin is a meme, but it kind of goes along those same lines where, okay, you're not necessarily a traditional company, and your stockholders might have kind of different expectations for you as opposed to, if you're GE or something, for example, right? So I think this move kind of aligns well with, again, kind of catering to their audience. But at the same time, they also kind of did something odd where they're deciding to raise funds to purchase this rather than use their cash reserves. So there's a bit of a question there, and I know the market didn't react very well to it. So I'm interested to see how it kind of turns out.
You know what interests me is why others so deeply invested philosophically as well as with money in Bitcoin. What is it that Saylor believes at heart to underpin his belief in Bitcoin?
Yeah, well, if you're Saylor, you've been in Bitcoin for years now, right? So there's Bitcoin that he bought at, I think, under 10K. So if you look at that in terms of just risk and reward, right, in the past 5-6 years, he's 10x his investment and continued to do so. I think their average Bitcoin purchase is maybe like 36,000. So they're majorly in profit, right? And so any kind of investor would definitely want to double down on that. Maybe not like an all-in move, but they would absolutely want to continue capitalizing on that trend. So I think that's part of it.
But why, CJ? Why do they believe in it so strongly?
Well, I mean, I would just say just purely off the profits, right? Like if I had a stock that kept performing, I'd want to invest more and more money into it as well, to see if I can get into it. Beyond that, I mean, it could just be very well that he believes so strongly that Bitcoin will become this either a reserve currency of the world or some kind of monetary exchange between all these companies rather than, depending on the US dollar or something like that. So, and if that's the case, then obviously that means that a lot of countries are going to have to purchase Bitcoin. And unlike the US dollar, you can't just keep printing Bitcoin. So, that's kind of a setup for exponential returns there.
Thank you. That was helpful. Now, can we just quickly turn to the next big story of the week about President Donald Trump's World Liberty Financial. As everybody probably knows, World Liberty Financial is a cryptocurrency venture that President Trump launched last year. And they recently announced that they're now going to launch USD1, which is a stablecoin pegged at a 1-to-1 ratio to the US dollar. Could you give us a quick primer on stablecoins? But talk to me anyway, like I'm a fifth grader. Up here, I think I am, and then explain why World Liberty Financial is launching its own stablecoin. Why would they do that?
Yeah, so a stablecoin is essentially a token that is trying to sustain a certain value. This could be the US dollar, which is probably one of the most popular use cases, right? So it mirrors the US dollar. So in an ideal world, a US dollar backed stablecoin always stays 1-to-1 with the US dollar, meaning you can always exchange it. That can be the case, and it can't be, depending on what happens to it. We saw like Luna, the Luna project crashed, and so their stablecoin went to zero because of that as well. So stablecoins like USDC and USDT, which are stablecoins or US paired stablecoins, are actually backed by US dollars, whether they're in treasury form or some other kind of asset. They have to back the amount of tokens that they're releasing on the blockchain in the case that someone wants to go back to them and say, hey, I want to exchange 1 million of these USDC for $1 million US dollars. And that's some of the laws and the regulations that are coming out now, ensuring that investors like you and I are protected for those. But that really goes down to like USDC and USDT. These other things like BlackRock with their BUIDL project, which is a kind of an RWA project, they also released a stablecoin, and that stablecoin is paired to the US dollar as well, but they actually require you to purchase that to actually invest in their RWA platform.
Why do different companies launch different stablecoins? Why would we choose one over another?
I would say, like, for example, like going back to the BlackRock thing, it gives them a certain amount of control. So when you release a token, for example, you have certain control over it as the token manager, creator, especially if it's ran on your own blockchain or something like that. And in that sense, you can freeze it, you can do whatever you want because it's more centralized that way. Again, going back to BlackRock, they only want certain people to interact with their RWA. They have KYC that you have to go through. You have to be an accredited investor, and you have to have a minimum investment there. So if they were to just say, oh, anyone with USDC can join, then they can't really moderate it, right? But when they have their own token, when they're in charge of giving it out and exchanging it, between an investor that's coming on and wants to get involved, they have full control of that. So they know exactly who their investors are and can kind of gatekeep that, so to speak. So it definitely goes against the general principles of crypto of being, accessible to anyone, being centralized. But as we're seeing these big players, they do have legal ramifications that they have to worry about, right? They can't just put out a product and give it to whoever, because North Korea could come in and start investing in BlackRock, right? And then they could get in big trouble too. So I think control is a big part of that, where people, they want to release their own token and maintain the integrity of that token and maintain control, rather than just going with USDC or USDT that's out there and used every day.
So in very short description or answer, why do people want stable coins instead of just selling their crypto for cash, fiat?
Yeah, so there, it's kind of a complex process of going from crypto to cash. I think, as you know by now, you can't store cash on the blockchain. So what that means is you would have to go to a centralized exchange. You would send them whatever crypto you have. You would sell that, and you can have that cash on the exchange, or you could send it to your bank account or whatnot, right? What stablecoins allow you to do is get away from the volatility. So for example, if you were invested in ETH and it went up 50%, and you're like, okay, I want to take profits. Well, you wouldn't stay in Ethereum, even though you might believe in Ethereum. You want to take some of those profits, so you would exchange it to a stablecoin. Rather than having to send that Ethereum to an exchange and sell it for US dollars, you probably just want to keep it in your wallet, because who knows, there might be another buying opportunity for Ethereum or Bitcoin or something else down the road.
Ah, okay. And lastly, how do these stablecoin issuers profit apart from having the control you said?
Yeah. So going back to what I said about where they're backed or why they're backed. USDC and USDT have bought billions and billions of dollars of treasuries. So right now, I mean, they're earning 4% to 5% on just holding these things, and giving you a token that could essentially go to zero, right? Could be worth nothing. The value that they're doing or saying is that they're putting their company on the line and saying, okay, will you promise that this token that we're giving you is worth $1, and proving to you that it's worth $1 because we have that same amount of money or cash or treasuries to back it. And we're willing to cash you out if you ever want to exchange it. That's essentially this unspoken promise, right? Between the two.
I see. And so in other words, they're making money on how they back the stable coin in bonds. They're getting that percentage. But at the same time, they have to give us the value in stable coins if we ask for it, right? I mean, they've got a promise to do that. All right. That was really helpful. Thank you. And finally, are there any stories in the crypto world this week that we should be paying closer attention to?
There's a couple that kind of came out of around Dypto, actually. As you know, we had a random meme coin made about us and kind of increased engagement and stuff, and that's very interesting. And I'm pretty excited to see kind of where that community goes, because it seems like it's pretty strong and they're really into it. So love to see kind of where that goes. As for any crypto specific ones, I think we saw a pretty big drop in ETH over the night. And from what I could find, it seemed like it was mainly just a sell-off of the Bybit hack. So the hackers were, again, just dumping some of the billions of dollars, 1.2 billion of ETH or whatever that they had made out with on the exchanges, kind of forcing that price down. So still stay strong. It's not the end of the world. They're just trying to get their profits out, of course. And but yeah, other than that, it's been kind of a slow news cycle this week for crypto.
CJ, as ever, thank you. And I hope all our viewers and listeners will come over to the site, sign up for our newsletter, and if they want to request our free ebook and all the wonderful things we have to help people learn about crypto. So thank you, and I'll see you next week.
Thank you.